Refugees, between humanism, threat, fear, and abuse. I present to you a video created with the help of AI, dedicated to the topic of refugees. When my family became fugitives from our republic, I began to wonder, who are we? Mere refugees fleeing unbearable living conditions in search of happiness in the West, yet unwilling to change the situation in our own countries, or political exiles forced to leave, but striving to transform the political system back home and win independence for our people. Either way, we are now in the West, but the threat from the Russian Empire has not diminished. In today's world, the word refugee has become commonplace. It is constantly mentioned from political platforms, in courtrooms, on social media, and in everyday conversations. Yet behind this single word lie millions of human lives, high politics, ideological conflicts, dramatic moral dilemmas, and even a crisis of Western civilization itself. Who are refugees today? Are they always driven by despair and fear, or increasingly by calculation? Why are some welcomed as heroes and others viewed as threats? How do we distinguish professional freeloaders and fake asylum seekers from the real ones, those truly suffering under repression? These questions are especially pressing today in Europe and North America, so pressing in fact that some politicians have built careers on the rhetoric of hatred. Millions of asylum applications are filed, and not all of them are genuine. Among the applicants are many who hold extremist views, who do not respect the laws, and who at times are even willing to use violence against the citizens of the countries that offered them refuge. We are not economic migrants, we are political emigres. Among the millions of refugees, we were there too, those expelled from the Russian Empire not for crimes, but for our beliefs, human, national, and political. We did not choose exile, it was forced upon us. We are not chasing comfort, we seek freedom. We have not abandoned our homeland. We continue to fight for it, even from afar. That is why we clearly see how distorted the very concept of refugee has become. Today, this word covers too much, from those who have escaped torture chambers to those who simply want to live off welfare in a prosperous country. This conflation destroys trust in the very idea of asylum, international law, and its shortcomings. After World War II, the world adopted the 1951 UN Refugee Convention and its 1967 Protocol to protect victims of persecution. At the time, this seemed humane, fair, and effective. However, in the 21st century, the age of mass migration, this convention has become legally outdated. It fails to account for the scale, causes, and threats that accompany modern migratory waves. Those genuinely fleeing dictatorships should not be lumped together with those who lie for profit. But that's how the system is built. One template, one camp, one status. The result? Distrust, tension, and the degradation of migration institutions. History. From Europe to the world. Mass emigration is not new. In the 20th century, millions fled communism, fascism, wars, and genocide. America welcomed Cubans, Iranians, Vietnamese. Europe accepted people from Algeria, Congo, India, Pakistan. These individuals strove for integration. But since the 2010s, a new wave began from Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq. The reasons? War, terrorism, state collapse. And alongside genuine refugees came economic migrants, criminals, and extremists. We are different. We cannot be compared. We are those who genuinely resisted, who faced threats, who were persecuted for our convictions. We are politicians, journalists, human rights defenders, and representatives of peoples enslaved by Russia. We do not sever ties with our homeland. On the contrary, we want to return and contribute to its liberation. We are not tourists with a suitcase, we are ideological fighters, and we must not be judged by the same standards as those merely seeking a better life. Economic migrant, political refugee. Economic migrants flee poverty, but that does not make them political refugees. They do not fight. They do not strive to reform their countries. They do not pay the price for freedom. Often, they do not even respect the freedom of the country they arrive in. They are consumers, not creators. Many refuse to integrate. Some are criminals, religious fanatics, or agents of totalitarian regimes. These are the individuals who undermine trust in the idea of asylum itself. As a result, those genuinely escaping persecution suffer. how the West created a culture of dependency. Western nations meant well, but humanitarianism without common sense turned into a disaster. Social aid without screening produced professional refugees, migrants with dozens of applications, fake biographies, and vague motivations, hopping from one Western country to another. The West was unprepared for large-scale verification. Migrants learned to manipulate the system, exploiting its weaknesses and trust. Behind the mask of refugees, terrorists and spies. One of the gravest consequences has been the infiltration of radicals. Paris, Brussels, Berlin. Terrorists entered through migration channels. Additionally, agents from Russia, China, and Iran have slipped into Europe and the US, engaging in espionage, sabotage, and political corruption. Tolerance and humanitarianism have become weapons in their hands, their goal to destroy the West from within. Cultural conflict, Muslim enclaves in Europe. A distinct problem lies in the failure to integrate some Muslim migrants. The issue isn't religion or race. The issue is cultural incompatibility. Sharia law, gender segregation, youth radicalization, rejection of secular values, domestic violence, anti-Semitism, these are becoming the new normal in certain areas of Europe. This erodes the foundations of civil society, and those who criticize it risk being labeled Islamophobic. The West begins to wake up. Fortunately, Western politics is beginning to shift toward reason. Screening is tightening, benefits are being reduced for those who refuse integration, and conditions are becoming stricter. Some countries are implementing white lists, temporary camps, and simplified deportation processes. Increasingly, there is recognition that asylum is a temporary measure, not an unconditional right to comfort. A new measure, political filtering and loyalty. But even this is not enough. Beyond legal status, a migrant's values must be understood. Those who receive asylum must not only obey the laws of their new country, they must be loyal to its sovereignty, culture, and security, especially under aggression from states like the Russian Empire. Refugees from aggressor states, including the Russian Empire, should clearly answer, who does Crimea belong to? Do they support the right of peoples under Russian rule to self-determination? Are they ready to support the sovereignty of the countries that granted them asylum? Migration services must have the right to include such questions in applications. This is not ideological cleansing. It is defense against infiltrators, agents of influence, and bearers of imperial ideology. Anyone who claims Crimea is Russian cannot enjoy the protection of European or American democracy. Refugee status is not just a right, it's a duty. It's a duty to defend the country that gave you shelter, not just through beliefs and principles, but if necessary through action, even by taking up arms. What should be done? Reasonable humanitarianism. In these conditions, the West must differentiate between economic and political refugees, prioritize those who fight, not just flee, introduce political screening mechanisms, monitor signs of disloyalty, build partnerships with political émigrés, not just host them. We are not a burden, we are allies. Refugees are not a faceless crowd, among them are heroes, but the current system rewards fraudsters, and true fighters drown in bureaucracy and anonymity. We don't ask for privileges, we ask for honesty, we ask for distinction. We are not a threat, we are hope, we are partners. We are ready to defend both the West and our homeland from our common enemy, dictatorship, violence, and lies. If the West wants to survive, it must learn to see us as allies, partners, friends, not as yet another problem. Only then can humanity, security, and truth coexist. Only then is a shared, peaceful, and free future possible.